When I got the suggestion to do a Starmie challenge, I felt that it was going to be a bit too easy. Look at these stats. Note in the footnote of these graphs that there's a line of text about the Pokemon's special stat in Generation 1. In Generation 1, we have an incredible 100 special. Because of this, Starmie is probably just going to sweep through the game with relative ease. So I think I need a way to make this challenge a little bit more interesting. While researching Starmie, I realized that it shares a lot in common with Cloyster. They both evolve with stones, they're primary water types, and they each have a role, Starmie being an offensive glass cannon and Cloyster being much more defensive. So what if I did a run with each one of these Pokemon and raced them against each other? Because this is a race, I've added a timer in the top left so you can follow how long it's taken me in real time to play through this challenge. Note, I'm playing through these runs on 4 times game speed, and the timer is recording real time spent playing the challenge. These Pokemon have very interesting learn sets. That's it? Yup. Pokemon with strange evolution methods like trade evolutions or stone evolutions stop learning new moves once they've evolved. Because of this, it's actually going to be very interesting to replace the starter Pokemon with one of these Pokemon. Additionally, TMs and HMs are going to play a really big role in this run, because that'll be the only way that my Pokemon are going to be able to learn new moves. While Cloyster does have a better early game move pool, Starmie's speed and special really make it a strong contender for this race. Starmie's move pool is also much more diverse when we look at the TM and HM side of things. I personally think that Starmie is going to come out on top, but maybe I'll end up surprised. Let me know in the comments which one you think will be faster. I just want to go over the rules quickly before we get into this run. I'll only be using the Pokemon that the run is focused on in battle. I won't use any items in battle, and I won't be using any glitches, aside from the badge boost glitch, which triggers every time a Pokemon's stats are modified. At the start of the game, I'll only be beating my rival in the Pokemon Lab. That ensures that he'll evolve his Eevee into Flareon later in the run. I'm shooting for speed here, not difficulty. This also lets me skip the optional battle with the rival and move straight to Brock as quickly as possible in both runs. Starmie has access to Water Gun, which is 4 times effective against both of Brock's Pokemon. Starting the fight at level 6, I one-shot Geodude, get stuck in a bind against Onix for a little bit, and then one-shot it as well with Water Gun. I finished with a time of 5 minutes and 40 seconds. I think that's pretty good. Cloyster starts off with Aurora Beam and Clamp as its attacking moves. It also has less speed and less special than Starmie. For that reason, I end up knocking out all the Pokemon I ran into in Viridian Forest to give it a small level boost against Brock. Obviously, this fight isn't hard. For this fight, I ended up choosing to go with Aurora Beam, which is just me being silly and thinking again that ice moves are 4 times effective against rock and ground Pokemon. They aren't. It probably would have been just way better to go for Clamp here in the fight against Brock. In the end, it doesn't really matter, and the fight ends and Cloyster gets a time of 5 minutes and 21 seconds. So in the first leg of the race, Cloyster comes out on top. The advantage that Aurora Beam provides continues into the next section of the game. It has a higher base power than Starmie's Water Gun, and it's super effective against trainers who have flying Pokemon. On top of that, we get access to Water Gun in Mount Moon. Now in retrospect, I probably should have just kept Clamp. But when I was a kid, multi-turn moves always felt really weak, so I have an inherent bias against them, and I just didn't think it through and I replaced Clamp with Water Gun. The battle with the rival on Nugget Bridge starts, and Cloyster one-hits the first 3 Pokemon on Butt's team. Eevee tanks Aurora Beam quite well. It takes me a few turns to get through it and move on to the rest of the trainers on this route. Of these, the final last before Bill's house is of note. With Cloyster, this fight isn't hard because it has Aurora Beam, which easily deals with her grass and flying Pokemon. Maybe Starmie is going to have some issues here. Misty is up next. She opens with Staryu. My Aurora Beam isn't dealing much damage to it each turn. It takes me 4 turns to knock it out and move on to Starmie. I continue the Aurora Beam spam, and because of Generation 1's AI, the Starmie just refuses to attack me. It continually spams Harden as I slowly whittle it down. Overall, this battle wasn't hard, but it did take a decent amount of time. Way to stall us out, Misty. Cloyster gets a 17 minute and 15 second time on this second leg. Getting into Mount Moon with Starmie feels like running through water. I know I have incredible speed and an incredible special stat, but Water Gun just isn't dealing very much damage to any of these Pokemon. It makes these battles take longer than they did with Cloyster. Another issue here is that Starmie doesn't have incredible defenses. This means I have to make far more frequent trips back to the Pokemon Center to heal up before proceeding. This really adds a lot of time in this section of the game. The rival fight isn't as easy with Starmie. I'm not able to one-hit the Spearow because I don't have a super effective attack. Luckily, the Sandshrew goes down in a single super effective hit from Water Gun. Next, Rattata also survives my first hit, and Eevee takes a grand total of 4 turns before it faints. I really can't wait to beat Misty and get access to Bubble Beam with Starmie. Unfortunately, I ended up losing to the last trainer just before Bill's house. I failed to save before the fight, and so I lost a lot of time walking all the way back to take her on for a second time. I do manage to defeat her and move on to Misty though. The Misty fight with Starmie plays out the same way it did with Cloyster. Staryu goes down fairly quickly, leading to Starmie. Because of Misty's AI, she mostly chooses to use Harden, while I slowly whittle it down with Water Gun. This one took a bit of time, but eventually I'm victorious on my first attempt. With Misty being defeated, Starmie has a time of 23 minutes and 38 seconds. That's a 6 minute and 23 second lead for Cloyster. I can't believe how much better Cloyster is doing. Not needing to head back to the Pokemon Center frequently has really allowed it to take a significant lead. The next phase of the game, there's a significant portion of RNG that can get in the way of either of these Pokemon. The trash can puzzle in Surge's gym can be a nightmare. I know that there's some logic here, but I didn't remember what it is for either of these runs. For that reason, each of these challenges will just derp around in exactly the same way until I find 2 trash cans that I need to get into Surge's room. With Cloyster, it takes me 41 seconds to solve the puzzle. Surge sends out Raichu first. See? I got the pronunciation correct this time. I get it down to a sliver of red health, and then it goes for Thunderbolt. Cloyster faints, and that means I'll need to get luck to get through this fight at this level. If you've watched my runs in the past, you'll know that it's actually pretty easy to get past Surge with luck alone. For that reason, I'm just going to keep trying until I get the luck I need. To help improve my chances against Raichu, I set up Supersonic on my first turn in the second fight. This causes Raichu to hit itself twice throughout the fight, leading to a Cloyster victory. By the time I reach the trash can puzzle with Starmie, things are starting to look bad. The time gap between the two has been maintained, and if I can't get through Surge on the first fight, Cloyster might actually pull even further ahead. Unfortunately for Starmie fans out there, the trash can puzzle takes 1 minute and 19 seconds, extending Cloyster's lead significantly. Starmie does get incredible luck against Surge and defeats him on my first attempt. So Cloyster's total run time is 24 minutes and 56 seconds, and Starmie's is 33 minutes and 3 seconds. So Cloyster currently has an 8 minute and 7 second lead. It's pulled ahead by 1 minute and 44 seconds since the last leg of the race. The next leg of the race opens up some incredible TMs for Starmie: Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, and Psychic. With these moves on my moveset, I expect it to start regaining some of the lost time. Psychic allows me to steamroll through Erica's entire team. You'll also note now that the time is significantly higher. I had to do Rock Tunnel, all the regular errands in Celadon, and the Rocket Hideout before taking Erica on, so this accounts for that time. Starmie clocks in at 51 minutes and 57 seconds at the end of the fight. In terms of TMs, Cloyster also gets access to Ice Beam. However, it doesn't have access to Thunderbolt or Psychic, giving it a disadvantage at this stage in the run. The addition of Ice Beam, however, gives us a really good shot against Erica, and we take her out clocking in at 41 minutes and 32 seconds. Starmie gets a chance to show off its new moveset against the rival in Pokemon Tower. I think this moveset is really going to allow it to just shred through the rest of the game. This continues with the Koga battle. I have a type advantage against the Venonats. Psychic shreds through them, leading to his ace, Venomoth. Here the fight gets harder. I know Leech Life is super effective against Starmie, and it also heals Venomoth. On my second turn, I switch into Thunderbolt and land a Paralysis. This is really going to help make this possible. One of my Ice Beams takes it down into low red health, but doesn't knock it out. Then it retaliates with a Leech Life, taking Starmie down to 3 hit points. I outspeed the next turn and knock it out. That was really close. Cloyster also rips through the rival fight in Pokemon Tower with ease. Ice Beam is working really well. Koga is next, and here I don't have a super effective move. The first fight against Koga makes me feel keenly aware of the fact that I need rest. Without rest, I cannot fix status conditions inflicted against the Cloyster by the early Venonats. With rest as a part of my moveset, I'm able to get through this fight. Because of the mechanics of rest, it does make the fight take a while though. After the Koga fight, let's see how our two contestants match up. Cloyster is still in the lead with a time of 55 minutes and 55 seconds. It's kind of symmetrical and beautiful. I like that. That's a lead of 6 minutes and 19 seconds. So Starmie has gained some time back. Its moveset is really allowing it to come back into this race. After completing Silphco, I decide to try Blaine first. The special boost from his badge will be helpful against Sabrina, who's up next. Cloyster here runs into some troubles, as you might expect. Because ice is weak to fire and water resists it, Blaine is going to hit Cloyster for neutral damage against its special stat, which is lower than Starmie's. My first fight with Blaine, Cloyster can't even get to Arcanine. Because of that, I decide it's time to train Cloyster up a bit. This training ends up back in Saffron in the fighting dojo. Because I'm already here, I just decide to take on Sabrina before heading back to Blaine. For this fight, I teach Cloyster Double Edge, which is a strong physical attack. Abra's Flash misses and Double Edge knocks it out. Kadabra is next. It uses Recover at full health and feints to Double Edge. Alakazam is last, and it uses Reflect first turn, causing my Double Edge to deal around 1/3 damage. It uses Recover, and I switch back into Ice Beam hoping to get a freeze. It gets an X-Defend next, and I continue with Ice Beam because of that. On the last 2 turns of the fight, it uses Psywave, and I barely survive with 28 hit points remaining. In this leg of the challenge, Starmie faces an issue. The rival in Silphco is quite challenging because of his Magneton. I made a mistake in the first fight and used Surf against Magneton. Obviously I should use Psychic, which isn't resisted, and I also have Stab on. I correct this error and I get through the Magneton battle without being paralyzed, allowing me to get through the rest of his team. Because of my type advantage and my absolutely massive special stat, Blaine is fairly easy. Alright, after that section of the game, we only have a 2 minute and 36 second lead for Cloyster. When I was playing through this challenge, I played each run independently and didn't compare times until I started to edit the video and write the script. I can't believe that these two Pokemon are having such a close race 6 gyms into the game. Moving on to the next gym, here is Cloyster's 3rd attempt at Blaine, even after training up a few levels. Ninetales confuses Cloyster first turn. Second turn, it lands a massive flamethrower and then gets knocked out by Surf in a single hit. Rapidash is next. It lands a Stomp and Cloyster fails to get its rest off due to confusion. In a stroke of luck, it uses Growl next turn and Cloyster gets a chance to heal up. It lands another Growl and a Stomp before we finally wake up. It takes a few more turns, which involve an annoying flinch before I finally take the Rapidash down and move on to Arcanine, with only 3 hit points remaining. I heal up and take a massive flamethrower. Funny enough, Arcanine gets stuck spamming Reflect after that, and Cloyster takes the victory. Does anyone know of an AI glitch in this fight that causes the Reflect spam? I've noticed this several times. Maybe it's a bug? Starmie now has to take Sabrina on. I was really not looking forward to this fight. 2 buff special Pokemon going head to head isn't my idea of fun in Generation 1. I outspeed the Abra, but it survives my Surf. It lands a Flash, which is going to make this fight harder than it was already going to be. Kadabra takes decent damage from Surf and lands a Psychic, dealing a tiny bit of damage to me. My second Surf I miss due to Flash, and then Kadabra lands another Kinesis. Ugh, yuck, this is getting bad. Next turn, Kadabra goes down. It's time for Alakazam. With this amount of accuracy lowering moves on Starmie, I'm not sure how this fight is going to go. Funny enough, Yellow version decides things need to be fair between Cloyster and Starmie, and Alakazam also gets stuck using Reflect over and over, and Starmie knocks it out. I'm really starting to think that this is some kind of bug. Giovanni opens with Dugtrio, and Starmie knocks it out right away. Persian unfortunately isn't as fast. It takes 2 turns to knock it out and move on to Nidoqueen. Against Nidoqueen, I used Psychic and I got a special drop, causing Nidoqueen to not knock me out with Thunder. That's really lucky. Going into the Nidoking fight, I was hoping for a Guard Spec in order for the fight to keep going. Funny enough, I get exactly that, and I knock the Nidoking out the next turn. Rhydon is obviously an easy KO with Surf. Cloyster is too slow to land a hit against Dugtrio before it gets underground for a dig. Luckily, I have a massive defense stat, an absolutely massive defense stat, and I tank the dig very well, and then I take the Dugtrio out. Persian takes 2 turns to go down. I used Ice Beam here just in case I got a freeze. Nidoqueen gets put into red health by the first Surf, and then it strikes back with Double Kick. Here, I chose to go for Rest in order to heal up a bit before Nidoking. I get very lucky here. Nidoqueen misses 1 of 2 Thunders, the second dealing massive damage to me. And finally, Giovanni uses a Guard Spec, allowing me to knock it out. Nidoking comes out and uses Thunder, knocking Cloyster out. So Starmie finished the Giovanni fight at 1 hour and 18 minutes and 39 seconds. This is getting close. Unless I can get through Giovanni on the very next fight, Starmie is going to take the lead. This time against Nidoqueen, I need to heal right away. Giovanni immediately uses his Guard Spec. This means that there are attacks coming for Cloyster next turn. Nidoqueen lands a Thunder, taking me to half health. Luckily, it switches into Double Kick next turn. The next turn I wake up and I land an Ice Beam, knocking it out. The reason this Ice Beam knocked the Nidoqueen out is that Persian used Screech on Cloyster, causing the badge boost glitch to occur. Nidoking is next and I go for Ice Beam right away, but I miss. In true Giovanni style, he uses a Guard Spec and lets Cloyster knock him out next turn. I outspeed the Rhydon and feint it with a 4 times effective Surf. Taking a look at the race results after the entire gym challenge has concluded, we get a 50-second lead for Cloyster. This is incredibly close going into the final battles of the game. Check out Starmie's fight against the rival. Both Sandslash and Execute are easy to take out. Cloyster causes me some issues. Isn't that fitting for this video? Magneton deals a good amount of damage to Starmie, and Kadabra derps around for a while until it finally lands a Psybeam, taking me down to 13 hit points. Flareon comes out, lands a Smog, taking me down to 1 hit point, and my Surf doesn't KO it. Flareon has some really good special, by the way. I lose one more fight with the rival, and then I decide that I don't want to lose any more time on this fight. I use some rare candies, and I finally make it past the rival at level 51. Funny enough, Cloyster struggles with this fight as well. I need to use rare candies on it, taking it up to level 56 in order to get through the fight. Now, going into the league, I'm going to change things up a bit. We're going to watch each Pokemon's run through the league all at once, and then compare times at the very end. Cloyster has had a lead the entire time, but now its lead is only 26 seconds immediately following the rival fight. So which Pokemon do you think is going to win? I personally think Starmie's wider move pool is going to give it the faster victory against the league. Let's find out. The Lorelei fight isn't hard for Cloyster, but it takes a long time. I resist nearly all of her attacks, but I have to slowly whittle her Pokemon down. I wish there was a better option here, but we just need to grit our teeth and hope that Starmie is going to lose some time somewhere else in the league. Bruno is next. His Pokemon all have pathetic special stats, with the exception of Machamp, who actually has 65 special. Not bad for a fighting Pokemon in Generation 1. It survives one attack but then goes down the next turn. I think Starmie will finish Bruno off at a similar pace, so I doubt we've gained any time here. The scariest and spookiest Elite Four member, Agatha, is up next. She defeats me in fight number 1 and I need to reset. The first Gengar knows Mega Drain, and this poses a problem for Cloyster. In the second fight, I get paralyzed turn 2. My Ice Beam lands and deals a lot of damage to the Gengar. It then goes for Substitute, and my Ice Beam breaks it the same turn. It lands 1 Mega Drain and then faints. Golbat is next, and Ice Beam makes quick work of it. Haunter comes out, and then Agatha switches for Arbok. Okay, thanks Generation 1 AI, that's really generous of you. I get some bad luck against her ace Gengar, but in the end, Cloyster triumphs against her Gengar, and she sends out her final Pokemon, Haunter. Cloyster gets a critical hit against it and takes it down in a single turn. So Lance is, it's gonna be pretty easy, I think. I've got Ice Beam, and I'm even an Ice type. Gyarados takes a few turns to knock out. I should have just used Ice Beam against it the entire time. Not sure what I was thinking going for Surf on the first turn. Both Dragonair obviously faint to Ice Beam. I was a bit scared against Aerodactyl. It's always the best Pokemon on Lance's team. Cloyster is just too buff physically, and I knock the Aerodactyl out with a single hit. Dragonite isn't particularly fast, and it's 4 times weak to Ice Beam. I knock it out right away. Now the champion is the only opponent that remains in Cloyster's way. The final fight against Butt is hard. I spent roughly 25 minutes after defeating Lance trying to figure this fight out. I was even considering if it would be just faster for me to go back and train and then face the league again at a higher level. I figured I'd try a few more fights before taking that option, as I felt that would obviously make Cloyster lose against Starmie. Exeggutor is a 2-hit with Ice Beam, but that gives it a chance to set up Leech Seed. This one move is the reason that this fight is so hard. Against Magneton, it's almost impossible to proceed without some luck. I get a freeze here that allows me to progress onto Butt's Cloyster. This fight takes forever. I hope that the sped up footage helps you appreciate just how long it takes for things to line up and finally knock this Cloyster out. Leech Life helps Cloyster recover just enough health each turn to be annoying. Spike Cannon also deals just enough damage that by the time I'm waking up from rest, I have to heal again. Because Spike Cannon is a multi-turn move, this fight is also very anxiety-inducing. It always sucks to spend a large amount of time on a fight and then faint after several minutes of battling the same Pokemon. Finally, I get a critical hit with Surf and knock the Cloyster out. This was the first time that I ever made it to the Flareon. I use Rest because I'm fairly sure that Flareon can tank at least one of my Surfs. Remember, its special is incredible. It hits me with Flamethrower second turn and takes me down under half health. Then it lands Fire Spin as I wake up, locking me into the move for 3 turns, taking Cloyster down to 6 hit points. So I rest up against it again and try again. This time Flareon goes for the same move selection and I wake up with 34 health remaining. Getting a bit frustrated, I decided to use Surf to see if I could take it out, but it goes down to orange health. Okay, so I think I'm dead. However, it misses its Fire Spin next turn, giving me the victory. So Cloyster did it. I wish it had gotten a time under 2 hours, but 2 hours and 55 seconds is pretty good, I think. Now, let's see how Starmie did with the league. Lorelei is much easier because of Starmie's moveset. Thunderbolt takes Dugong down in 2 turns and Cloyster out in a single hit. Slowbro is buff and takes 2 turns to knock out, even despite its setup with Amnesia. Jinx puts Starmie to sleep and then locks itself into Thrash. From that point on, I just have to wait and wake up and then knock it out with Surf. Lapras is last, and it takes a few turns of Thunderbolt to go down. Bruno is so easy. I actually didn't heal before the fight just to save time. Then I spam Psychic, not changing my move selection in between turns, also just to save time. With Psychic on our side, Agatha is also an easy fight. Right now things are looking very good for Starmie. I'm around a half hour ahead of Cloyster, but in the end I might get stuck on a single Pokemon and lose all of my momentum in an instant. So guess what Lance is? Also extremely simple. Thunderbolt knocks Gyarados out in a single hit, it's 4 times effective. Both the Dragonairs are easy with the help of Ice Beam. Aerodactyl goes down to a single use of Surf, and Dragonite is made quick work of by Ice Beam. Okay, champion time. I'm around a half hour ahead. My initial prediction was that Starmie would win this race. So let's confirm that prediction. Let's go do it. Starmie runs into an issue here. It can easily get past Sandslash, Alakazam, and Exeggutor. But Magneton is brutal. I can't knock it out without it landing a Paralysis or a Thunderbolt. I can get past it occasionally when I land a Freeze. What I realized while playing these fights is that I need a way to recover health and get rid of Paralysis once I get into the fight with Cloyster. So I teach Starmie Rest in the place of Psychic. The opening of the fight goes as it did before, knocking out Sandslash and Alakazam with ease. Exeggutor sets up Leech Seed and then goes down after 3 turns. Funny enough, against Magneton, I get a Freeze right away. Okay, that was really convenient. I thought I was going to have to play this over and over, but instead I just get the Freeze right away. That allows me to heal up and knock it out and go into the Cloyster fight with green health. Cloyster doesn't go down in a single Thunderbolt, and that forces me to rest up. I take it down with a second Thunderbolt and move on to the Flareon fight. It goes for a quick attack. My heart skipped a beat here. Does the freeze lock that I got against Magneton not even matter because Flareon is just going to quick attack me into oblivion? Luckily I survive, and it survives my Surf. And then Leech Seed heals it, taking me into even lower health. So I don't think that it'll KO me with a quick attack unless it gets a critical hit. So I make the judgment call to go for an attack and close the fight out. It uses quick attack and doesn't get a crit and takes me down to 11 hit points. So Starmie did it with a time of 1 hour and 41 minutes and 1 second. I think if I replayed this challenge, I'd get dramatically different results. The champion could have easily gone either way. Starmie needed a lot of luck in order to get this time. If we just removed the freeze lock in the champion fight, I think that these two runs would have been a lot closer. What did you think of this style of video? I've got one more planned. It's going to be Pinsir vs Scyther in Pokemon Yellow, so stay tuned for that. If you're still watching, you're incredible. If you enjoy my content and you're looking for a way to support the channel, check out the Amazon links in the description. If you click on one of those links and buy a product off Amazon, even if it isn't one of the ones I've linked to, I'll earn a small commission. Beyond that, the most important thing is you being here and watching. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in my next video.